Oh, I've just realised that I stopped that right before the best bit. But that wouldn't it be amazing if you could do that on Bitcoin? Hey, um, that is a 6 or 7 minute song, and it is part of the new sequencer that has been working on for the last few months, adding various additional functions that can also exist and work on chain, things that you might recognize from everyday sort of standard practices on audio, things like reversing the audio, playing it slower, just like we used to do with tape. And the new sequencer has up to around 12 minutes of time. I think the last one was 2.5 minutes. So now it's more than enough to write full-length songs, but added to that is the new player, which is even sleeker and doesn't really have any limits. It'll play any number of sequences, any number of channels. We've just got to start testing it out and see how far we can push it. But the playing around with sound in a digital way to do the same thing, slowing it down so the pitch goes all low, or speeding it up so it sounds like chipmunks, all this sort of stuff, is something that you can replicate digitally. And we've now built this into the OB1 collection, which is the collection of wave audio quality samples that have begun to collect that can be used in the Audionals sequencer along with all other audio that exists on the chain to create new songs that don't require reinscription of that audio. So that song that I just played there, called Truth, is, I think it's about 6.5 or 7 minutes long, and because of the recursive possibilities with using the audio samples that have been put on chain along with various audio processing techniques, we can make those sounds into new sounds and put them into new rhythms, into new mixes, and make new songs. And rather than a master of that length, which with that audio of that quality would be verging on around 100 megabytes as a master, and yet we can build this on the chain in a place where it will never ever not do what it does on the day that we inscribe it, and it's around 30 kilobytes, 20 or 30 kilobytes. So even if it was like 100 kilobytes, that would still be a saving of 99.9%. But this is even more than that. So this brings the cost of creating your on-chain master down to a point where it's feasible that people could start to release lots of music this way, because we don't all have to go out and break the bank to inscribe an MP3 version of the song we've made. If we've managed to get all of the various elements on chain, or we've managed to recursively reuse existing on-chain elements along with various on-chain plugins and audio processors, that we can create these songs that we can inscribe and distribute for pocket change. So when people sort of really switch onto this and start playing around, start experimenting, I've got some stuff to show you tonight on the show, but I thought that I'd actually go over the sort of history of people who do this. It was something that I got really into when I was at school in the 80s. I got given a tape player, and I got really good at convincing teachers that I was sick, and I'd get sent to a place we called the infirmary. And as long as I could continually maintain a series of temperatures on thermometers through holding them near light bulbs or warm taps or whatever I needed to do, I could sometimes turn a day into a few days down there with my tape player. And I got really into editing. It was like one of those double tape players where I could play a tape on one, and then on the other one there was a microphone, like a 1/4-inch jack, so you could plug a mic into it, and this thing would record both what it was getting from the tape one, as well as whatever you were feeding in on this mix. I mean, the tape hiss that would build up, just over three or four different recordings piling onto one tape, and your sound to noise is kind of even. They're about the same level, and then beyond that, the noise is louder than the recordings, or your older recordings start to disappear into the background. But it was a lot of fun, and it was just super cool, and it was one of the reasons that I've started with the Audional 2.0s, if you like, the HTML audio sample files. That's why they've got all of these extra bells and whistles built in, the ability to reverse, slow down, speed up. It felt like creatively we don't actually need a lot. We can do a huge amount with a simple sound, and this is why I got onto the subject of tonight's show, where I'm going to go back to look at the origins of Musique Concrete, the idea of taking anything and sort of turning it into something musical that can be used in a song, because that's where a lot of experimental music, even electronic music, the pioneers of that, they came from this Musique Concrete idea. And we're moving into a new era now on chain, where we can start to experiment the same way. There's already a host of audio on chain, and we are here with the OB1 collection inscribing high quality audio samples that can be reused, but also can be mucked around with, changed, slowed down, sped up, processed in any number of ways until they create new sounds. And new sounds that don't have to be inscribed again. New sounds just using existing on-chain elements to create the new sound. And then all you have to do is then just inscribe the process that you took to take that sound from A to B, B being the sound that you've made it into. And that is a few bytes. It's a couple of ones and zeros that says, okay, it went from this inscription to that inscription to that inscription, and this is what it sounds like now. And then you inscribe that, now you've made a new sample. So yeah, there's a lot of parallels, even though we're right in the future now compared to when this sort of idea started really forming in the 1940s. But I can see the similarities here. I can see the similarities between, playing with tape and the idea of having the control to pull that tape over the heads, not in the way the artist intended you to, and to create your own sounds. It also makes me remember, the Amen break. For those who don't know what that is, it's the most sampled drum loop that we know of. I think it's registered in 6,000 different songs. But the Amen break was never registered to the people who owned it. The song was, but the break ended up being re-registered by other people who had just sped it up. And because it sounded different enough, sped up, and with various effects on it, other people ended up actually claiming the royalties for this thing, which is this is another a shining beacon for why we are doing what we are doing here, and what this actually means for musicians who are maybe looking into this area and thinking, what's here for me? And it's like, ultimately, when everyone jumps on board, everything is here. There there's a difference between distributing your music on chain, like recording everything on chain, which can be great for electronic dance music. For EDM, that's perfect. It's like, here we go. Here's all your samples. Here's a load of plugins. Everything's on chain. Knock yourself out. This is Web 2.0, Web 2.0, Web 3.0 splice, if you will. But it's all distributed. Lost my train of thought there. Got too into the idea of Web3 splice, which I was going to go into a bit later as well, just to talk about splice. But I think this is what I was going to say, was that there is a difference between distribution in that way and still utilizing this power of the blockchain to secure your work. You might have a hybrid work where you do use some on-chain elements because you know that the sample holders and all the plugin owners, all the people whose labor or sound you are utilizing in your music production process are automatically given attribution in your song. Your song, part of its DNA says, I used these samples and here's the Bitcoin address where this sample exists. I used this plugin, I used this, that and the other, and here are all the Bitcoin addresses. So all those other people that may or may not be the composer themselves are attributed. And once the real world cottons onto this, once the performing rights organizations cotton onto this, suddenly there's something more than having to keep your audio on chain. What you can now do is just use hashes. You can store audio in other off-chain solutions. There are off-chain solutions like, I say off-chain, I just mean they're not on Bitcoin. They're not on the Bitcoin blockchain, but these things have their own chains. One that I was playing around with for a while is called, what is it called now? Arweave. And, Arweave miners are basically incentivized by the data. The data is packaged up with some money, and that money has been calculated based on the size of the data to outlive the need for that data to be paid for. So, it's quite cheap storing data on servers. So even a gigabyte, I think, cost me $20, and that's enough for it to be enough of an incentive to people who are making money from storage, from server farms, forever, because they've calculated how much it's going to get cheaper by every year. A gigabyte is a very small amount when you think about these data farms. It's not like on the blockchain. I don't know what the exact costs are, but the idea is that every year, for example, the cost to store it goes down by 10%. So if you draw that out on a graph, you'll see that there's a point where you can say, okay, this amount of money is never going to touch that curve. The curve is going to bend away and get cheaper and cheaper. So each year, less and less is going to be taken out of these funds. So how much do I have to put in here to make sure it never runs out? And that's what they've done. And I think they give a 200-year guarantee. So while it might not be the blockchain solution necessarily forever, of course you'll be able to bridge this stuff in the future at any point when there is a better solution. But right now, you could be storing your vocals, all of your takes could be stored somewhere like Arweave, and then all you're doing is just creating a hash of that into the blockchain that links the ownership of this to that Arweave data to you, which again, it's still public data that's accessible everywhere. It's the same kind of deal, but you have the token that proves that you were the person that put it there, and that now owns that token. And now if that audio is then combined with other on-chain elements into new songs, then you've got both elements going on here. You're not distributing this on chain because you don't have the other audio, but you could distribute it on a layer 2 chain, because that layer 2 chain is going to be able to take the samples that you're using on layer 1. It's also going to be able to pull in any data from anywhere you want, whether it's Web 2 or whether it's Web 3 storage. And that is then also going to come with, if you're pulling that data in and you're using the hash that is stored on Bitcoin, you're able to have that kind of all-in-one package where you're using a layer 2, but layer 1 is your source of truth. It doesn't necessarily contain all the audio, but it contains the proof to all of the audio masters, proves the ownership, and can still be part of that Bitcoin Merkle tree of creativity and rights for future payments. Even if those payments are coming for the off-chain work, the fact that we've managed to get everything centralized around Bitcoin providing the proof of ownership will get us more quickly to that world where the performing rights organizations decide that this framework in Bitcoin is better than the, it's not even a framework they exist on these days, but whatever it is that they use at the moment to attempt to administer all of the rights for all of the songs in the world. Once they see that if we do get everybody hooked into the blockchain, and I'm talking about musicians just owning those masters, they don't have to own any Bitcoin, any other crypto, they're just holding these tokens in their wallets that proves that they are the owners of such and such content. And then, the performing rights organizations have their job done for them. Sample usage, all these sorts of things are all taken care of. Everyone benefits from it. It's not like this is something that just benefits the musician. It benefits everyone in the space who does a job that's worthy, because it's just about efficiency. You don't have to pay for anything you don't want to. That's one of the things with being in the music industry and living off royalties or mechanicals as well as publishing. It's extremely difficult, and it's completely reliant on not just a third party, but third parties with reliances on third parties, with reliances on third parties, performing rights organizations with reliances on other performing rights organizations. It's an absolute clusterfuck. And this gives a level of transparency and resolution that's just unheard of. I mean, not only can you say, yes, this drum was used in this song, but the song can tell you with certainty how many times it was used. Was it combined with any other plugins? All of this information is there. And then because your songs are now packaged up as HTML files, executable HTML files, this means the song doesn't exist unless someone is executing the file and listening to it. When that file stops playing, there's no recording. It doesn't exist. I'm talking about the on-chain distributed songs again here, but if you're using like the Audionals sequencer, those songs are HTML files that when no one is executing one of them, the song doesn't exist. And then when someone executes a file and they listen to it, it exists in that moment while they're listening to it. But it is a file that is executable. It needs a click to play, which obviously has lots of other benefits in it because it's an executable file that needs to be clicked. It means that you can have on-chain, off-chain, complementary kind of services for musicians, whereby if they want to, watch the chain, they can, because obviously these events happen live. It's not like nothing is recorded on chain, but your players can send a message when they're played. They can send a message saying what was played, how long it was played for. All these sorts of things can just be built into the song now. So when the song is executed, not only does it pull together all the elements to play the music that you've written, but it can also help you in other ways by saying, how many times are these things being played? You could be having a counter on your website that's literally counting every play. You can do it anonymously, as in you don't have to number your players. You don't have to be saying which player it was, but of course you can do that. That moves on to something else with publishing that I think is going to be worth investigating at some point, but is the use of, when publishers are given a CD. This is one of the things I think in the future people will look back on and see as really archaic in the world of blockchain. It's not going to last for too long that people will think that there is any security in, keeping your recordings, in inverted commas, private by not putting them on chain when you're recording them onto devices that you hand to someone and you have no connection to that thing again. whether they re-record it, who they give it to. It's an absolute nightmare. I can tell from speaking from experience, like music that's gone out with one publisher and then somehow it's ended up with a client that doesn't even know your publisher. But how have they got the hold of the music? It's just a mess. So to be able to deal with this in this way, taking away that whole total random element where we're just trusting a host of people to get us paid, and instead we can make it super efficient where if you do something you get paid. And that also goes for plugins and synths. Once people realize, okay, 20, 30, 50 kilobytes, 100 kilobytes, your synth, it's on chain now, thousands of people can use it in this same way, and your synth gets credit in every song. We can move away from these splice business models where everybody has to pay, including the really great musicians who are really going to do some good stuff with this, but they've still got to pay to use those tools, when really that's only in place because those tools are in the same position, whereas the second that recording's been made, they've got no recourse to say, oh, that was us, that was my synth that was used there. They've given up on that. They've just made the new business models where you just make everybody pay a subscription. But now we can go back to more people using it because they can make it free, knowing that every single song that is using this synth in the on-chain world to produce these on-chain masters, the song credits everything. So that attribution is guaranteed. Doesn't need to be squeezed out of anybody. Very different to the real world, which involves a lot of squeezing if you work in music all the time. So uncomfortable, so much greed, and so much inefficiency, which together are just a powerful virus. Anyway, banged on about that for too long. I wanted to show you some of this stuff. So one of the things I was going to talk about was just the origins of Musique Concrete. People like Otto Luening and John Cage. Let me go and see if I did queue some stuff up, I think. Let's see. Oh yeah, there we go. There's Otto. And I think he created something called Fantasy in Space, is it? Let me see if I've got that one on here. I think I did. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, Fantasy in Space. Let's have a listen to this. So this is, when was this? 1940. 48, I want to say, but I don't know. But let's have a listen anyway to what Otto Luening was doing in the 40s. Whoopsie, that was my boo-boo there. But anyway, yeah, so there's more from Otto, which I've got lined up here. We are going off-piste tonight.
Wix
like, whoa, hello.
gives you the power of...
Oh, don't go doing that. Oh dear. Need to work that out. Yeah, there's more. I'm really hoping that I'll get away with this, and Sony, Universal, and Warner won't come after me for any of these guys. I don't think they've got any interest in this stuff. A bit later on in the history, it gets a bit icky, a bit difficult when we get to the Beastie Boys and Daft Punk, but I think we're good with this. Trippy. Yeah, so that actually wasn't Otto. In my haste to get out of the last one, I accidentally moved on to Herbert Elmert. Klang Studi 2 from 1952. But there's more. We got Else Marie Paid from, this one's called Civ Circler from 1958. There's some music alpha from 1958. Oh no, oh no, oh, I've done it again. Yeah, music alpha there from 1958. I mean, you might think you've heard that all before, but if you think about what Elvis was edgy in 1958, that was about as naughty as you could get. I can only imagine what anyone would have made of that. But that is the alpha I'd have been looking for, because that is literally the forefather of modern electronic music. What else have I got in here? Pierre Schaeffer, another one from it, still before we've even got to 1960. This is 17 minutes long. I'll just play a few minutes of it, because yeah, I don't want to unnecessarily subject you to that. So yeah, anyway, after that, we go on to people like John Cage, who did some interesting stuff. He did, is this prepared piano? This looks quite short. Let's have a look. This looks like a modern recording of it. Let me just get back to the right view there. yeah, that's super cool. I mean, again, that was composed in the 60s, I think. So it's equally impressive, but it's also stuff that Otto was doing, sticking things in, sort of breaking things to get new sounds out of them. This is another one by John Cage. That's an interesting quote at the start there, really capturing the spirit of Musique Concrete, which is everything we do is music, which as anyone who has sat down and taken any piece of audio and looped it so that it loops into itself over and over again, and now it just becomes a note, and then depending on which section of that note might be someone just saying a word, but within that word you might have 5-10 notes, you might have a whole octave of notes that you can pick out of that voice, turn into a synth, and we've now got everything we need to do that on chain. I mean, look at, just as an example, I was going to get to this later, but obviously this stuff has really taken up some time. I don't know how many people are still listening, but if let me just get back to this for a moment, to the sequencer, just to show you this song that I played at the opening of the show. If I open that, I'll show you what some of those sounds are, because they are just using these on-chain elements to change the sound a lot. If I can just find the one I need. Let's try this one. So let me load it up. Got it here. It's called, yeah, I think it's this one. Okay, I need to find the right. Let me just put another one on and I'll find this in the background. Where was I up to? John Cage did that. This one. Okay, let's have a listen to this while I figure that out.
And now, a performance of John Cage's 433. Please welcome our soloist, William Marks.
yeah, so it's pretty out there, but yeah, again, very pioneering at the time, and these are some of the greatest minds in what was to follow. But yeah, I've just opened up. I've just got to find the page now. Here it is. Drag this up here, and hopefully you can see that. Just zoom out a little bit. So this is the sequencer, the Audionals sequencer file for the song that played at the top of the show. And if I just show you what's going on with some of these samples, so that I don't even know what these are, because I've renamed them ages ago. Let's see what this one is. I've changed, so we've got pitch settings here, which I've just reset. So that's too fast. Need some clearer settings on here. So this, I think, it was someone else actually sent this to me. They'd recorded me chatting on a stream or on someone's space, some other space, and it was me saying Audionals. If I go in here, so it's been trimmed. So if I take these trim settings off, you can see that looks like a big warble in there. But if we get rid of these trim settings, in fact, we can just play it in here. Audional. So they've just done that. They've just recorded Audional. Me saying Audional, but then with these tools that we've got on the chain as well as here in the sequencer. Audional. So it's been trimmed like that, and then it's been pitched right down. And it sounds like that. Can you hear that? Let's make sure you can. Yeah, you're hearing that. So, you know, super cool. What was this one? I think this is a sample from the Based song. But again, if I get that pitch down to where it should be. What have we got? We've got a trim on there. A little bit of a trim. But again, when that's pitched right down, it's just a pitch it right down. And we get that nice smooth one. Then there's another dinosaur here. Based. So this is definitely from the Based song. Based. But now in this new use of the same sample that came from another song, was never intended for this use, but now in my song, it's the long dinosaur. Based. So if I perhaps reload the song again, and then you can hear what you heard at the beginning. Yeah, so that's an example of taking other elements that exist already on chain. Someone's put that audio there. I can take it, I can turn it into something completely different. Someone else can come along, take my sound, turn it into a drum using a gate, a compressor, a few other little plugins. We're so close to having an explosion of creative technological leaps, I think, through this tech. Just need need a few more people to jump on board, need a few artists to get on board, to get in touch. I can help teach people, talk people through how to use the interface to create the tunes. There's a wealth of audio out there. Been talking to these amazing Vermilion guys about getting AI involved in helping search for audio. You'll be able to soon just find words or notes, whatever you need, just type it in, and then hopefully we'll tie that into the sequencer as well, so it'll be super easy to put together things that aren't even music, just other on-chain things, putting together audio for games, piecing together a montage of different words through some plugins like vocoders to create new sentences in new voices. It's all possible. Just everything that you're sort of hearing here is just my vision. One person with an idea and a persistent attitude has managed to build this, to get us this far. But it's like, once the real developing talent turns up, not only that, once the businesses behind that developing talent actually back that talent to come and start building in this space, that's when things will really start moving. And there's a number of chicken egg situations around what we're doing here, but this is definitely the way, and we just need to get more people using it. Once these songs are coming out over the next week or so, stay tuned, because there's proper music coming to Bitcoin over the next couple of weeks. I think it's going to be exciting. There's going to be a range of music, and I think as soon as people really start seeing what's going on here, and more people start inquiring and writing songs with the sequencer, we could be really at the start of something really incredible here, when there's just one song, then two, and then four. And before you know it, now that we've got this method and the cost of doing it, most importantly, down so low, this is when the real creativity and fun and connecting with fans, all of the good stuff that musicians have been waiting for, can start to happen in this way. There is a load of other stuff I've got queued up here. Let me see what else we've got here. Let's have a listen to some more. And then I've got this one I really liked. I wanted to play that one. Let's have a listen to this guy. And then I was sort of moving through time to sort of get to my journey into Audionals, with Audionals, but maybe that's a second half for next week. To go through the journey, my technological journey into where we are now. But let's have a listen to some more of these pioneering experimental pieces. Whoa, that's quite intense. I had one more. Oh no! So this was the. I guess I'll wrap it up with this. This is probably pushing it as far as I'd like to push it with regards to anyone trying to take the show down. But this is the song that I was talking about from the Winston Brothers. It's called Amen Brother. Sorry, from the Winstons. It's called Amen Brother. It's like a B-side from 1969 single. And this drum beat around 1.5 minutes in is the beat that you'll recognize that's been sampled thousands and thousands of times, and is a really good example of what went wrong with the music industry, that someone could have this much of an impact on future music. And the drummer who played this died homeless in 2006, never received a penny, and has had arguably more influence on modern dance music than any other drummer in history. But have a listen to this, and you'll know the bit when you get to it. And thanks for joining, and I'll be back for another show next week. Cheers.